The smell of burnt coffee clung to the air, thick and bitter, mixing with something harder to name. Maybe resentment. Maybe the ghost of everything we'd failed to say. Lena stood by the sink, her back straight, her shoulders drawn tight as if holding back a storm. "None of my 4 lips belong to you anymore," she said. The words cut through the silence like a blade. I froze, my hand hovering over the mug on the counter. "For lips." The phrase was strange, grotesque even, and yet her voice left no room for misunderstanding. I wanted to laugh, to believe it was one of her sharp little jokes, but her fingers were gripping the edge of the sink until her knuckles turned white. She meant it. "Then live with your debts alone," I said before I could stop myself. The words cracked as they left me. I meant the house, the car, the years we'd built together brick by brick. But even as I spoke, they sounded hollow, like I was shouting at a shadow I couldn't touch. She didn't turn around. The faucet dripped, each drop echoing like a heartbeat in the tense stillness. I waited for her to take it back, to say something, anything, but she just stood there, looking back. The signs had been there for weeks. Her phone always flipped face down. The way she'd sit in the car after work, staring into nothing. I blamed it on stress, the long hours at the gallery, the demanding clients. I told myself every marriage ebbed and flowed. But then there were the smaller things, the faint trace of cologne on her scarf, the way she'd tense when I touched her shoulder. I didn't want to believe what those things meant. Now her words played over and over in my mind. For lips. It wasn't random. It was deliberate, a taunt, a confession, or something else entirely. My heart pounded, my chest tightening until I could barely breathe. "Lena," I said finally, my voice soft, pleading. "What does that mean?" She turned then. Her eyes weren't teary. They were cold, steady, resolved. The woman I'd loved for 12 years was gone, replaced by someone who looked at me like a stranger. "You don't get to ask that," she said. "You don't get to act like the victim." The word stung. Victim. I'd worked myself raw trying to keep us together. Long hours at the firm, dinners I cooked when she stayed late, pretending not to notice when her laughter started sounding rehearsed. And now, somehow, I was a villain in her story. "Who is it?" I asked. The words came out like shattered glass. For a second, her expression flickered. Barely, but enough. Then she turned back to the sink and began scrubbing a spotless plate, the sponge rasping against porcelain like a slow torture. I moved closer, the kitchen shrinking around us. Her hair fell over her neck, exposing a faint bruise just below her ear. My stomach dropped. I reached out, my fingers trembling. "Lena," I whispered. "What did you do?" She spun, the plate slipping from her hands and exploding against the floor. "Don't touch me," she shouted. Her voice cracked, her eyes wild with something between fear and guilt. "You don't know anything, Tom. You never did." My name in her mouth felt like poison. I stepped back, dazed, trying to make sense of what was unraveling. Every memory flickered through my mind. Our wedding day, her laugh in the kitchen, the promises we made. How much of it had been real? I thought of her boss, Marcus, the smooth-talking gallery owner with perfect suits and 2 long handshakes. I brushed him off as harmless. Now the image of them together filled my head like a sickness. "Is it Marcus?" I asked quietly. She didn't answer. She just bent down to gather the broken pieces, her hands shaking. The silence between us was unbearable. Then the doorbell rang, a sharp, clear sound that sliced through everything. Lena froze, shards of porcelain in her palms. "Don't answer it," she whispered. But I was already walking toward the door, drawn by something I couldn't fight. When I opened it, Marcus stood there, rain clinging to his coat, a bouquet of roses in his hand. My stomach lurched, but behind him was someone else. Sarah, my sister. Her face was pale, her eyes locked on mine. "Lena," she said, pushing past Marcus, her voice trembling. "We need to talk." Lena appeared in the doorway, the broken plate still in her hands, her expression frozen between shock and dread. And in that instant, everything fell into place. For lips, not just hers and mine, but hers and Sarah's. The betrayal hit like a blow. My wife, my sister. The roses weren't for Lena, they were for Sarah. You both, I said, barely recognizing my own voice. All this time, Lena dropped the shards again. They scattered across the tiles like confetti at a funeral. Sarah reached for her, but Lena stepped back, her eyes darting between us. Tom, I didn't, she began, but the words dissolved. I turned away, stepping out into the rain. The cold soaked through my shirt, numbing everything except the ache in my chest. I didn't look back. Whatever debt we built together, it was theirs now.